So, story time. So, I've been on here and I've been watching these people. I don't know if they're even from Appalachia, telling these scary stories, these folklore, stuff like that. But, somebody that's actually been raised up in Appalachia, I to share a good story from my experience. So, I was raised up in these mountains, and, we used to play hide and seek in the mountains. We used to go, hiking all the time. And we just used to do all kinds of stuff. And pretty much a lot of these mountains in this area where I grew up in, I pretty much can tell you about. Well, there's one particular mountain I won't hardly go up. I mean, I'll go up the mountain, but I won't cross the mountain. Like, go up to the top and then go back and go down the other side. Okay, so in the fall, I do like to go ginsening and dig up yellow roots, make a little extra money. You know, who wouldn't? So I've been kind of spooked and stuff like that, and I really haven't been back up that mountain ever since this happened to go ginseng. And there is just a lot of ginseng, and a little bit of yellow root, but it's a pretty good amount of ginseng up there. So this particular time, I always take that orange construction tape with me. I tie around a tree or a tree limb or something like that. So like every so often, like every 20 yards or whatever, so I know how to make my way back because you really just can't trust these animal trails. Because one minute you'll be going on the same animal trail, and then it'll split up in like 3 or 4 animal trails, and you just don't know. Like, and then when you carry on the same path and everything, and then when you start digging ginseng and stuff like that, and then you're looking around, and then you start to see like 3 or 4 animal trails. Like, well, which way do I go? So that's the reason why the orange tape. So one particular day, doing some ginseng, and I actually walked over. It's actually pretty cool. So I got on top of the mountain and went on the other side because usually one side of the mountain is the wet side, the other side of the mountain is the dry side. So what that means is one side of the mountain is always things wet, muddy, the soil is really great, and then on the other side of the mountain, dry. There's still vegetation stuff like that, but the ground is just really dry. So, I was on the wet side, and then I got on top of the mountain, crossed over, and I started looking down. I was like, wait a minute. Hey, that's a wet side too. So let's go check out, see if there's any ginseng. Because ginseng grows on the wet side of the mountain. So as I was going down, and I was putting up my orange tape and everything like I usually do, and I ran into like one of the biggest patches of ginseng I ever saw before in my life. I was really excited, so I started digging up ginseng and everything. So I was there about at least a good hour and a half digging up ginseng, and I made a pretty good amount. Like I got like 8 or 9 ounces of ginseng. It's actually pretty cool. And so this where I can't explain it. This where I get spooked at. So I was going back the way I came from, following the orange tape and everything. So I made it on top of the mountain. Well, you figure since I was on top of the mountain, go back over. I'll be back on the same side where I originally started from. No. Like, everything changed. Like, the last bit of the orange tape I saw was on top of the mountain where I had it. There was no orange tape. There was nothing. It was a totally different mountainside. And so, I was just walking through there, and I was sitting there trying to figure out where I was. I couldn't, So, I was like, well, alright. So, there's a bunch of creeks. If I know there's a creek, if I can hear water, I know there's a creek, and if there's a creek, there's a road. Because around here in Appalachia, where I live at, the creek is usually by the road, like 90% of the time. So, go figure. So I kept on walking and walking, and then I said, screw it. So I went back, like the way I came, got back on top of the mountain. Totally different. I couldn't find my orange tape or nothing. I was like, okay, now something's getting weird. So then I said, screw it. You know what? I am just going to completely get off the mountain right here. So I went down the mountain. So all of us people that's been raised in Appalachia, we was all raised up. The easiest way up a mountain and down a mountain is zigzag. You know. So you just won't go completely down. Sprain your ankle, break your ankle, or anything else like that. And going up the mountain, you just won't get completely winded. So it just makes life a whole lot more easier. So anyway, so I was zigging down, Sorry for all the pauses. There's only 20 people that lives up the holler here, and it seems like every one of them just coming out of the holler right now. I don't know. Well, anyways, back to the story. So I was doing the zigzags all the way down, and then I so happened to find a gas road. All right, so this gas road was not familiar, but because there is like a lot of gas wells up in these mountains. So, but I did manage to find a gas road. So I was like, sweet. So, but here's the problem with the gas road. When I got on it, it was level. I didn't know which way it was going down the mountain. I didn't know which way it was going up the mountain. But I did hear a creek. I was like, okay, so I can go either direction. So one direction would take me to a gas well, the other way would take me to a road. But if I can't find anything on either direction, I know I can go completely down, and then I run into a creek. So I went the wrong way the first time, but luckily I did find the gas well like pretty quick. So I was like, well, obviously it ain't this way, so I went the other way and backtracked, and that's what I did. So and I followed the road all the way down, and the gas road all the way down until I got to the actual main road. Now, where I was at, it was kind of familiar. It wasn't really familiar because, it was just one of those places where it's like, you know, if you're driving, you can recognize it, but if you're walking, you're like, this looks kind of weird. So as I was walking, and I finally found a house, and so happened somebody was, outside doing their chores, whatever, right? So I asked the old man, I was like, hey, where am I at? And so he told me where I was at. And I was like, no way. And he was like, yeah, this is where we're at. So now tell me, how did I go up a mountain, go over the mountain, and mark my every step, and came back the same way I marked and everything, and I ended up 15 miles somewhere else? It's just like I teleported. It was like really weird, mind blowing. It really was. So yeah, so it spooked me. It really did because it's just not normal, especially like when you're marking your steps, and then all of a sudden the other side of the mountain just completely changes. It just that's just not normal. So yeah, I got spooked, and granted, I will go up the mountain, and I have been up there, but I won't cross that mountain. I won't go to the top of the mountain and cross over no more because I feel like that's just a certain spot. When you cross over on the other side, I don't know. It's just I just got teleported or something. I just can't really explain how I got from one spot to 15 miles and on a completely different mountain. But if you made it this far into the story, congratulations. So, as personal experience and somebody that's been born and raised in Appalachia, if you're gonna go on the Appalachian Trail or half a McCoy Trail, Appalachian Trail, just stay on the trail. These mountains are unforgiving. These mountains can be tricky, and you just never know what you'll end up finding on these mountains.